Okay, hear me out. What if we don't actually like healthy relationships? Like, what if we say we do and we post about them on TikTok and we repost on Instagram and we make Pinterest boards and lists of all the things we would do with our partner if our relationship was super healthy? But the second someone's like consistent and emotionally available, we're like, ew, why aren't you toxic? What is this? I don't want it. Where's the chaos? Where's the spontaneity? This episode is about those times when you finally find someone that's treating you right, but you want to run. Why does peace feel boring? Why do we confuse anxiety for attraction? And are we actually in love with love, or just the addiction and the idea of addiction to emotional instability? I have no answers, but a lot of questions. So grab your matcha, some wine, an old situationship playlist, and let's get into it. Welcome to Existential Office Hours with your host, Lori. So, as usual, before I get into it, I will be saying the land acknowledgement. So, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that I am currently broadcasting this podcast on stolen land that was once rich in generations of culture, biodiversity, sacred traditions, and wisdom passed down through generations, was disrupted by colonization, and bears the scars of history. Nevertheless, it continues to heal and regenerate despite its ongoing violence. This land remains deeply rooted in Indigenous identity of those who were here before us. Those from the Mississauga of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe Wake, and the Wake-Weniwenso nations. Acknowledging these nations is important to me as a Black woman whose home was previously colonized and is now changed by those systems, to address systemic oppression and colonization that continues to happen in our world today. The Mississauga, Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe Wake, and Wendake-Nuenso people of this land are not forgotten, and despite the injustices and displacements they have faced, like the Anishinaabe values, I am committed to reconciliation and minimizing my impact on the environment. I continue to learn from, support, and uplift the communities, and I urge you to find your own ways to support Indigenous rights and communities following their values. Beautiful. I feel like the land acknowledgement is a mouthful, but it's very important to do. One day I'll get used to it, and one day I will say it without making mistakes. But for now, here we are. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we get into it, I thought that this term is best defined, this whole idea of the chase and the chaos and the passion was best termed by the term struggle love. Correct me if I'm wrong. There might be another term that's better for it. I need water. Okay. So yeah, before we get into it, let's get the definition of struggle love down. And this I just got from like Google. It's probably like a mix of Urban Dictionary and just like AI and all that jazz, but I thought it was sufficient. So struggle love is a healthy, that didn't sound right either. Struggle love is a relationship dynamic where one partner carries the majority of the burden, effort, and responsibility, often while the other partner is emotionally or financially unavailable or unsupportive. It's usually characterized by seemingly one-sided effort, lack of balance, unhealthy dynamics, and so on. So if you think you've experienced struggle love, let me know. But no, I'll be getting further into it, and I'm really, really excited for this topic because I feel like our generation now is starting to like think for ourselves, and we're starting to like, find what we like and who we like in a partner. And I think we're also starting to move away from some of the traditions or traditional norms that have been like imposed on us as like women or men. And I really love that for us, and I want us to like have happy, healthy, wonderful relationships. But I feel like this is something that is so like normalized, so I want to talk about it. So yeah, we got that definition down. Now, what does that mean? So I took the liberty of finding some. I really hope you guys can't see my toes. I'm gonna hide them. I took the liberty of finding some examples of these struggle love and, chaos equal passion love. And some of these are just like popular shows, series, movies. And, first one I thought of was Vampire Diaries. Yeah, Vampire Diaries. Like, that was insane. Sorry, I thought I saw. I'm like really distracted today, guys, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to lock in. Like, if you know me, I cannot like stay on one topic, so I'm surprised I do this podcast. But anyways, I'm gonna lock in. I'm locking in right now. Locked in. Vampire Diaries. The whole Elena, Damon, and Stefan, that love triangle was crazy. I would watch that show when I was like in middle school, I want to say, and I was like, oh, this is so romantic. Like, they're in love. Like, they're fighting for her. Like, she's fighting for them. She doesn't know who to choose. But it's actually incredibly toxic. And obviously, I know it's just a show. But I feel like people, like, that's what I grew up on. I watched that in middle school. And, I'm sure a lot of people watched it in middle school also. So, in high school and whatever. And so, like, that's what we're growing up on. Like, that's what I'm seeing as like love, and like normal love and healthy love. Like this freaking love triangle between brothers and this random non-vampire girl. Like, it's crazy. That's crazy to think about. I'm sure if I rewatched that series, it was a good series, I remember liking it, but I'm sure if I rewatched that series, I would be like, what the heck is this? The next one is Euphoria. Super duper popular. This one is like recent, and it's still super duper popular, I believe. But oh my goodness, I just took in one of my friends dressed up as Maddie, and that's their name. Wow, Maddie, if you're watching this, I literally just got that like I don't know how many years later. But yeah, like Nate and Maddie were so incredibly toxic, and I feel like that show was produced in a very like well way, because it just like kind of brought us along on the journey, and people loved it. Like, the colors, the chrome colors, and the music and everything, it was really, really well produced. But that also kind of makes us believe, if we're not like conscious and aware of it, that like this is not the ideal type of love, but like this burning passion, like fire of love is like what love is. Like, this is what you want. Like, this is the passion you want in your love. Nate was crazy. That man is not okay. But because he was like, the stereotype, like the ideal, I don't know, male figure guy, a lot of people, and he was like good looking, I guess people would say, like, or a lot of people would say like, wow, like that's what I like, that's the passion I want, like that's what I want my boyfriend to do, like chase me down type shit, like lock me in his car. And it's crazy because then we're confusing these clearly toxic things for passion. And maybe it is passion, like shit, what else are you gonna call it? But that doesn't make it okay. And slamming your head against the wall while you is not, it's something. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. I don't know what people want. Maybe that's what you like. Maybe it's consensual. Twilight is another one. And, granted, I did watch Twilight, but I couldn't really get into it. I was super duper young when it came out. But I know that the dynamic, I've seen like TikToks of it, and I know that dynamic between Bella and Edward. Is it Edward? I don't know. But the dynamic with Bella and one of them is just not, like, puts her life at risk and endlessly all the time, like, for him type thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's clearly not healthy. And the last example movie I thought of, rather, was Marriage Story. I really liked that movie. I watched it recently. It came out way back though. But I liked it because the couple didn't end up together. I feel like the producers kind of wanted them to end up together, or not wanted them, but wanted the audience to want them to end up together, because we're just so used to seeing like toxic love patterns. But they didn't, and I really like that they did that for the movie, because it showed you can walk away from toxic love. That's okay. They had this huge fight scene that was beautiful, and they acted it out so well, I feel like. And you would think like there's no way they're getting back together, and they didn't, and that's okay. And so I really love that, because it shows, I feel like, the rawness of a relationship. Like, you can still love each other and not be compatible for each other, but no one likes to think that. So yeah, those are the examples I have. And as I've been saying, we've all been kind of like preconditioned, or just conditioned from a young age, to believe unpredictability equates meaning and chaos equates passion. Haven't we? Like, I feel like that's all the love, like the plots for all the love stories is like that, whether it's the couple is the problem or external factors are the problem. Like Romeo and Juliet, their parents didn't want them together or something, so they killed themselves. I feel like it's always like something in the way, and maybe that's simply because shows need a plot, but it also just like sends the wrong message to like really young kids and people watching the movie or the series. So kind of like clocking that and acknowledging that, like, oh, this is fucked up, is kind of hard to do as an adult when it's literally like all you've known and all you've grown up on. I don't know, that's kind of crazy to me to think about. And so every time, like as an adult, every time something peaceful or someone stable might come along, we simply don't want it. Or, we hang out for a bit and then we're like, yeah, it's okay. Like, are we low-key toxic? Like, have they made it, like, by they I mean the media and like everything we're ingesting since we have watched media, have they made us low-key toxic? I saw another podcaster talking about, and I like the podcast, it's fun, but I saw another podcaster talking about how, the hot guys are the ones that like can't talk, like, they can't have a conversation, I guess, and the quote quote ugly guys are the ones that are the nicest and the sweetest and can have a conversation and everything, but I guess no one wants the ugly guys. And that's just so crazy to me. Maybe people know they're toxic, that's fine, but it's just so crazy to me because that's kind of what we prioritize, like, in our society right now. Like, forget the nice guy. Like, sure, they check all my boxes instead of looks, but I'm gonna go for the hot one, like the hot and toxic one. Like, that's crazy. It really, really puts into perspective like where priorities lie, and I'm sure it can track back to the media we're ingesting, how our family dynamics are, and how they play a role. So yeah. And then I remembered, as I was like thinking up this podcast idea, this quote that I was like in love with, I'm still in love with. It's by one of my all-time favorite poets. His name is Shane Koizakin. I'm probably saying that wrong. Shane Koizakin. And it's from his poem My Darling Sarah. And I'll link that in my caption as well if anyone wants to listen to his poems. They're so beautiful. But yeah, and the quote I'm referring to is, and if by the end of this you haven't hurt me, then you didn't try. And if by the end you haven't hurt me, then you didn't try. Like, I was just saying that, like, thinking, like, wow. And honestly, genuinely, truly, I grew up with that because I was listening to his poems in, like, middle school. And I grew up with that, and I'm like, yeah, like, yeah, like, yeah, like, fuck it. Because I was like, you know what? Yeah, love's supposed to hurt. I was, like, 12, 13, 14, whatever, thinking, yeah, love's supposed to hurt. Like, if they don't hurt me, they haven't tried. Like, they haven't tried. Like, that's legit what my, like, baseline thinking was. Like, if I haven't been hurt by the end of this, then they didn't try. Could you imagine? Could you imagine that, like, and no hate to Shane, like, I still love his poems. But that's kind of the basis of a lot of these series and movies that we're seeing, and maybe our family dynamics too. I don't know. The whole, like, oh, I'm doing this because I love you, and, you know, they're, like, hurting family members or whatever, but I don't know, depends on your family, I guess. But it's really crazy, and it's hard to, like, acknowledge, like I was saying, as an adult, something that has just been ingrained in you from a very young age, and realize, wow, I'm actually the problem. So I want all of you to just sit with that quote for a moment, because when I realized that's actually kind of toxic, I was very, very surprised. So, yeah. And everyone's trying to get into, which I love, the idea of accepting the love we feel we deserve, and princess treatment or prince treatment. I don't know if that's a thing. But, you know, just accepting, like, good love, like, good, healthy love. And maybe that's just, like, as we get older, like, people want something more stable. We're not in high school anymore, I don't know. Or maybe it's just, like, this generational cohort. But either way, it's great, and I love that for them. But at the same time, no one wants to explore the nice guy. And I wonder if we actually want stability, or if we just say we do. I feel like I was saying before, like, the nice guy might be the not hot one, like the other podcaster mentioned, but I feel like people forget that guys can glow up too. Like, people just, like, think girls glow up, I guess, but guys can glow up too, guys. And also, I feel like we're getting to a big age where, like, looks aren't gonna pay the bills. Looks aren't gonna pay the bills, babe. But, you know, to each their own. To each their own. Obviously, you don't want to be going to bed with Rumpelstiltskin, but he do got his gold, though. Rumpel got his gold. But no, I'm not defending Rumpelstiltskin. I think he, like, stole babies or something. So, yeah. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if we are saying we want stability so bad and someone so bad, why can't our actions reflect that? And I think it's a really great space for us to introspect and just think about and look into that further, maybe. And also, I'm gonna hold your hands when I say this, but ick culture was actually ridiculous. Like, I don't think anyone took it seriously. I hope no one took it seriously. I was, like, watching TikToks of, like, oh, things that gave me the ick in a guy. And obviously I wasn't taking them seriously, but I feel like someone might be out there actually taking them seriously. Like, the most crazy one I think I saw was someone said, like, they got an ick from a guy bending over to pick up, like, a ping pong ball or something. I'm sorry, what? And at that point, I can't even feel bad for the girls. Like, I can't even feel bad for the girls. Like, you want toxic relationships at this point, not allowing the guy to be human. And you know, like, I'm not trying to defend the men. But let him get the ball. Let him get the ping pong ball, okay? But like I said, to each their own. Don't come for me. But yeah, it was ridiculous. Ick culture was like ick, like ICK. It was ridiculous. And then, like, that's also what the younger, like, this, like, what we're experiencing is what the younger people are taking in, because, you know, everyone got phones and stuff way younger than I did. Or at least right now, like, the kids already have phones and TikTok and YouTube and all that jazz. So they're, like, ingesting this, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's gross. If he, like, itches his head the wrong way, like, I don't want him. Like, we need to allow people to be human. It's ridiculous. And how do we want someone to be emotionally available and love us unconditionally when we get the ick from this stupid stuff? Like, I'm saying that lightly because I am hoping no one actually took the ick thing seriously. But, like, 2 and 1 don't equal 4. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So I acknowledge that it's also hard to go from an unhealthy relationship to a healthy relationship. You know, like, people crave, which everyone knows, people crave what they're familiar with. So, like, I'm not gonna go to some, like, I don't know, toxic, like, shooter guy, because that's weird. Like, that's weird to me. I want something that's, like, stable and peaceful and chill. But someone that is used to that, like, chaos and the up and downs is going to go for that, you know, someone that will give them those up and downs. And I'll get into it more because I feel like it also deeply resonates with, like, attachment style theory. And I won't get too much into attachment style theory because I didn't have time to do my research and get the proper sources. But obviously, relationships lead back to attachment style theory. So, yeah, and I remember just from my personal experience, I haven't really been in a lot of relationships, but going from my previous relationship to the one I'm in right now with my partner, it was like a bumpy start. It was a bumpy start because, like, obviously my last relationship was super duper toxic. I'm so glad my friends shamed me out of it. They're real ones, for real. Like, sometimes you need friends to bully you out of a relationship. You need those friends. You need them. Okay, they didn't bully me, but they were heavily encouraging that I get out of it, which is great. And, you know, going from that relationship to the one I'm in now, I was literally like, this is kind of boring. Like, why don't I, like, pick a fight? Like, why don't I pick a fight? Yeah. That's a great idea. That's toxic. If you relate, that's toxic, babe. If you want to, like, pick a fight because things feel boring, no, you need to introspect, okay? And so I had to do that. And it's not easy to do. Like, switching from unhealthy to healthy, like, you have to do a lot of work in yourself just to, like, find out where that urge is coming from. Like, what is satisfying something within you to be like, yeah, I want to argue. I woke up on the right side of the bed today, but I want to argue. And, you know, obviously, like I said, it's about those attachment styles. And I wouldn't think someone that's securely attached would have these problems, but I would assume it's more of like the anxious avoidant, the avoidant attachment, and the disorganized. And the avoidant attachment is like kind of like people pleasy, like clingy, I want to say more emotional, and the avoidant is like more pushing away and doesn't really, more like hyper independent type thing. And so the two are kind of like magnets for each other, because the avoidant is just like pulling away, the anxious is pulling towards. And usually it's like, the guy is the avoidant, the girl is the anxious. Disorganized is, that's just crazy. I don't even know where that comes in to this, but yeah, I guess they're just like, they can be a mixture of both. But yeah, it's just like that pull and push relationship. And I guess it's like super satisfying once that anxious attachment gets to, or like a breakthrough or whatever with the avoidant, because it's kind of, I see it as like a hill, like yes, there's some problems like going up the hill, like if you're biking up a hill, but once you get down and you're going on the downhill, it's like feels super smooth sailing, and it's all happy and good and everything's nice. You don't need to pedal anymore. But then the cycle just repeats because you're going up and down a hill all the time, so you're chasing those like highs and lows. And I feel like that's what kind of pulls people in when they're like in those kind of relationships. Hopefully you guys know what I mean. And so for securely attached people, I could only imagine that the relationship is like a flat plane, or just like not a high hill and a low hill, just like flat, maybe some bumps along the way, but it's just not as exciting to someone that's always chasing those highs and lows. So it feels weird to go from fucking stunt riding your BMX bike to just like having a little stroll in the park. That's my analogy. Hopefully it made sense. But yeah, it's hard to chase highs and lows when there are no highs and lows, and so you kind of want to make highs and lows, and then you're toxic. But yeah, that's like my example. So I wonder if this is passion, or if it's just our fight or flight getting activated. Like someone's like triggering us and we want to push towards them so they don't leave, or they're triggering us so rather we step away. I tend to do that. I tend to step away. But I'm fixing it. I'm finding it. I'm working on it. But yeah, and it's important to like clock that, or get someone that loves you to clock that, because that's really important to acknowledge, because a relationship is about both of you, not just one of you. I know a lot of people like to think it's just about them, but it's not, babe. It's not. And I really don't like these unrealistic standards of love. At least if people are trying to find healthy love. If you're not looking for healthy love, then that's great. But if we are trying to look for healthy love, like, I feel like we need to be realistic and compassionate also for other people. And it's like this podcast actually happened in the perfect timing, because recently there's been another podcast circulating that has been, oh my gosh, I'm almost at time. But yeah, there's been another podcast circulating that has been discussing like this couple. It's called the Dear Future Wifey podcast, and I know from I say that a lot of you guys are already gonna know what episode I'm talking about, but it's the episode of the preacher and his wife, I believe. They're in green if you want to check on Spotify. But yeah, and that's just the epitome of struggle love. Like, you cannot tell me, like, if you look up struggle love now in the dictionary, like, that's where you're gonna find, like I listened to a bit of that episode, could not make it through the full thing. I was fuming, like steam coming out of my ears, because that was insane. But it's a perfect example of just how much our families and the media has affected our minds. Like, that woman has been brainwashed. I know she's not going to believe it. I know she was destined by the Lord to iron her husband's clothes while he goes and cheats on her. And I know he was possessed by the devil to cheat. Yeah, so, but and I'm not going to get into it. But I think it's important to take accountability, right? And we can't blame everything on the devil, okay? Yeah. Oh my gosh. If I get into it, this episode is going to be like another hour long. But just don't end up like them. Don't end up like them, please. Woman, stand up. That's all I have to say. I should just end the podcast there. But, so, oh my God, now I'm in like a bad mood just thinking about that couple again. They should like take that episode down off of the internet. Like, scratch it from every surface. But yeah, so what is healthy love then? It's not that. No, it's not that. I feel bad for their families. And I'm not a professional, so don't quote me. But what if love is quiet? What if love isn't helping your husband get ready to go cheat? What if? Now I'm just being shady. But no, what if love is quiet? And maybe not all the time. Like, you don't need to like never get in an argument. I still think arguments are important for the progression of relationships, but it doesn't need to change the state of your nervous system. I was gonna make another snarky joke, but I decided not to. And it doesn't need to be frequent arguments either. It doesn't need to be you finding out that he's in jail by your boss. It doesn't need to be that. But if it is frequent, and if you are frequently finding that he cheats on you, okay, I'm done. But if you are getting into frequent arguments, then what is your game plan? Like, do you have a game plan for communicating effectively? Like, I know with my partner, we came up with something to help us whenever we do get into arguments or whatever, so we can like communicate effectively, and each person gets to say their piece, and we, figure it out together within, I don't know, a couple hours. But like, what's your game plan? And I'm not going to share that for us because that's personal, and also it probably won't work for you anyway. And every couple is different, so you need to have a game plan, I feel like. I also think it's important to acknowledge that, like, as long as both people are willing to put in the work, not work, because it's hard, I feel like there's always hope for relationships. Granted, sometimes trying isn't enough. No one wants to hear it, but sometimes trying isn't enough. So you might have to walk away. But you also have to like decide priorities for you, like if you are in a healthy or not healthy relationships. And it doesn't mean you're giving up. It just means you're not giving in to constant decoding and figuring out what they mean and what they don't mean and all that jazz. Like, love can be peaceful. It can also mean setting up boundaries. No one likes to talk about boundaries in relationships, but they are a thing. Okay, they're a thing, and it's okay to have them. The girls are going to hate me for that, but it's okay. It's also challenging your thoughts. And that can look like anything. Like, it's your relationship. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your relationship. But, yeah, and that's important. And so, I will end because I am already over time. Probably because I was talking smack about that couple. But it's okay. I will end saying I don't know everything, but I do know that I felt safer in boring than I have felt in chaos. And if you don't feel safer and boring, maybe you're the problem, babe. Search within. You might be toxic. But that's okay. We were all kind of toxic at one point. And I want to hear about you. I want to hear about a time where you were in a healthy relationship and it felt weird, or how you knew you were chasing chaos. So you guys can comment that below, because I want to know. It's always like interesting to hear other people's experiences and learn from them. So with that, I will end, and I will say maybe peace isn't the absence of love. Maybe we mistake boredom because we've never got a chance to feel safe anymore.